Welcome to whitetail season. As I promised last week, we're going to come back again and look at this food plot that I'd mowed. And there was a lot of weeds in here when I started, and that was about maybe 10 days ago when I mowed it. It's cleaned up pretty good. We haven't had hardly any rain, unfortunately, or I think we'd have a really nice lush plot here. But you can just see how one mowing cleans out all the broadleaf weeds and kind of refreshes the clover and gets it growing again. So this is a spot, as I mentioned before, that's going to be really important to my strategy. It's a little small micro plot. I'll kind of walk you through it here and show you where the tree stand is on the other end and how I get to and from it, and a little bit more about this spot and how I set it up. It's a spot that I need to take good care of. So let's take another quick look and see how the clover's doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about my stand location on this food plot. It's clear on the one end, and it gets really narrow here. It's only 6-7 yards wide here, but the deer typically they'll kind of funnel through the full length of this food plot, and when they do, they're coming by at really close range to that stand. But let's talk a bit more about specifically why the stand is in the tree that it's in, because it really sets up well. And one of the themes is the difficulty of getting out of the stand at the end of legal shooting time. And this one's not too bad, really. This one sets up pretty good, and one of the reasons is because the tree has a lot of leaves on it. It's a shingle oak tree. And on the back side of the tree where I've got the stands, it's pretty open. But on the front side of the tree, we'll show you the shot from the other side, there's a lot of leaves there. So I can basically stay hidden behind the leaves on the tree. And I set up on the back of the tree always when I'm hunting on food plots. And I stand most of the time so I can hide behind the tree. So any cover that's left on the front side of the tree basically serves to hide me from the deer. So I can get down out of this tree without the deer seeing me at the end of legal shooting time, because I've got all that brush and branches on that side of the tree. But this is what I've done to make this one more manageable. I stand on the end of that clover plot should be a great place to hunt that buck I've nicknamed Big. And arriving at spots like that, I started touching on it a little bit last week on how we can use the aerial photos and put the data points of all the different occurrences of when we've encountered, photographed, and seen the different bucks that we're hunting. But the way we can arrive at stands like the one on the clover plot is to take that information one step further. And you have to take each of those occurrences and you have to chart everything that you learned when you saw the deer that day. And there's so much information there that we're not taking advantage of by just putting the dot on paper. You need to figure out, or not figure out, but document what time of day, what direction the deer was coming from, and what direction the deer was going to. So if you put all of those arrows on the map, if you'll show the approach direction, the departure direction, and the time of day, then you can start to get some conclusions. Not only do you get an idea of the density, because you see a lot of dots in one area, but you also get some ideas of where the deer is traveling toward in the evening, which is a likely feeding area, where the deer is coming from in the evenings, which of course is a likely bedding area. But it's a lot easier to do that when you're actually looking at the deer. It's a little bit trickier when you're looking at trail camera photos, but you can use those photos to draw these same conclusions. You just have to look for tendencies. For example, the first photo that you get of the buck as he approaches the camera, the direction he's approaching from tells you probably where he's coming from. He probably didn't circle. He may have, but if you look at enough photos from that camera of that deer, pretty soon you're going to be able to come up with some conclusions of where that deer was coming from. And put this information to good use. Little by little, you can start piecing together this deer's entire range, where his core area is, where his most likely sanctuaries and bedding areas are, where his most likely feeding areas are. And as you start putting these pieces together, you can find those areas within his range where he's most vulnerable. And those are the kind of spots that you need to focus on with your tree stands. In fact, I just came up from hanging a tree stand for this buck that I call G5, and it was a process that really it occurred in the same exact manner. It really relied mostly on sightings from the past season and trail camera pictures. We got a lot of trail camera pictures of that deer right in this area, sightings from this tree stand itself in this identical area. I had to move it just a little ways, about 20 or 25 yards, just to take advantage of what we learned last season, to move the stand so that I overlook every single travel route that's possible without giving up any of them. It's just a little fine tuning, a little tweak. You might think, is it even worth moving a tree stand 25 yards? Is that going to make a difference? Well, it changes which trails are downwind of the tree stand. It changes, the types of shooting lanes that you've got, which all make a big difference. So anyway, I hope that we've been able to help you this week and show you some some action on how you can take advantage of all the past history that you've got with these bucks. And we're going to start moving into the trail camera phase here pretty soon. You know, like I said in the past, I've put that off until the bucks are breaking up their bachelor groups, spreading into their fall ranges. We're going to see that pretty soon. You can see the beans here are just starting to turn yellow. We've seen some scrapes down along this wood line here, so the bucks are starting to get some testosterone levels coming up. So, you know, things are starting to change now. Corresponding with that, I'm going to start changing my strategies on how I scout. No longer am I going to film the beans in the evenings trying to catch these bucks coming out in velvet. They're still coming out probably sporadically, but those patterns aren't nearly as repeatable as what they were during the summer. I appreciate you joining me here on Whitetail Season. I'll see you back here again next week for the next episode right here at AmericanHunter.org.